Hello. Let's talk about books. Um, I wanted to share my I guess my top life-changing books because I love watching videos like these and it always gives me ideas on other books I might want to read. So, I'm hoping that this will serve in the same way and I'm putting them in order of when I read them in my life. So not necessarily like top five or anything like that, but in order of first to last. So let's get started. I have the first one that is so dear to me. This is a never ending story. And if you are a child of the 80s or 70s and whatever, I watched the movie when I think it came out when I was about 13. And it's just so special to me. It got me through a lot of rough times. And then I, of course, read the book after I saw the movie because, the book is always better. And if you've seen the sequels of the Neverending Story, the atrocities that were the sequels, oh my God. Of course, the book is 1,000 times better. So, and this is a really special version. Not that anybody cares but me, but it's got colored ink. Oh my God. And colored pages. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. So I haven't reread this in a while, but I used to read it every, I don't know, 5 years or so. And it's just got so many good lessons in there that I didn't realize were lessons at the time when I originally saw the movie and read the book, like how to be yourself, being confident and trusting yourself, and um, creating your own reality. There's really a little bit about that too, with the whole grain of sand, um, when the whole fantasy world is destroyed and they have to rebuild it. And yeah, it's just really good. There's a lot of good stuff in here. So, The Neverending Story was my first life changing book. Then we have um, Conversations with God. So, I think I read this when it first came out, which would be 1980. I'm thinking 89 or maybe 90, 91. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Oh, okay. It's a lot later than I thought. It's actually 95. Okay, so I read it in 95 probably. And I think before I read this book, I was what I would label maybe agnostic. I didn't really understand why bad things happened to good people and why the world was so crazy and why there's just so much suffering and what kind of God would let that happen and all that stuff. So this opened my eyes and my heart and my soul in a way that I can't even describe because it was just at the time it was a revelation for me. Now I read it and I'm like, oh yeah, this is simple stuff. But this was 30 years ago. Oh my gosh, my math sucks. So if you're starting on your spiritual journey, this is a great place to start. And I think I just breathed a huge sigh of relief after I read this because it portrayed a compassionate God, a truly all loving God, and explained to me why bad things might happen because there's a purpose that we are here to learn from them. So that's basically it in a nutshell. But there's of course a lot more to it. This has two more books in the trilogy, and then there are a whole bunch more, and I've read some of them, but not all of them, because to me, the first one especially, but the first trilogy was the most important. But you could just get away with reading this first one and be set if this interests you. So then we have a practical book that I read in my early 20s, I think. Your Money or Your Life by Joe Dominguez and Vicki Robin. I think he died quite a while ago, but I read this at a time when I was absolutely miserable in a job that was just soul sucking. I was a ball of anxiety every single day. It was starting to manifest in physical issues. And when I read this, it makes you go through this process of calculating how much money you're actually making if you add up what you make and then take away how much money you spend to work in this job, like on special clothes or vacations. Because you're so stressed out, you have to go away to disperse that stress. That's not the word, but you know what I mean. Hopefully. And special coffees or lunches out, and transportation, and gosh, just about everything that you might not need if you didn't have that specific job, and if it weren't so stressful, because that's a lot of, I mean, it's very expensive to be sick, so especially in America. So when I did that, I realized that I was making, I think, $4 an hour at this job. And this was back in the early 90s, so it's not as bad as what it sounds, but still, it was so not worth my life. And so I decided at that time, after much, much, much discussion with Mike and my husband, and a lot of soul searching, that I actually quit my job and we moved back to Michigan, because we had moved to Ohio to work so I could work this job. And it allowed us to be closer to our family, go back to Michigan, be closer to our families, and live a way, way more simple life. I mean, we were just really, really simple. It's a nicer way to put it. I think we lived on $200 a week for quite a while, many years. Yeah, that was an interesting time, but I learned a lot. So I'm really grateful I read this, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's just wanting to become aware of their financial habits. That's an excellent way to do that. Next we have an oldie. Oh, these are all kind of oldie but goodies, but I don't think I have anything new here. The Mists of Avalon. I have always loved the Arthurian legends, and this is, and I just recently heard, I gotta back up, because I just recently heard about this controversy with the author, and I had no idea about it, so please don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. And it's a book, and I'm totally separating it from the author's drama. But this book, I'm so embarrassed about my nails. I know I only painted them 2 days ago and they're so chipped, but whatever. I'm not perfect, right? So this is the Arthurian legends told from the women's perspective. It's actually told from Morgane's perspective, which I don't think they call. I haven't read this in a while, but I think in here she's called Morgan, not Morgane. But traditionally, the name is Morgane, I think, and I might have that backwards. But this I never read anything like this about the Arthurian legends. I knew them very well before I read this. And this was just fascinating to me because in the traditional literature, if you think about it, all the women in those legends were portrayed as evil. That is kind of like how we portray Eve, in the Garden of Eden myth or story or whatever you want to call it. The women are always the ones that bring about the downfall of civilization. And this is it's almost the opposite. It's not exactly the opposite. Like I said, I haven't reread it in a while, but I just loved how it was a totally new perspective, and there you just you get a new perspective. Isn't that what reading is all about? Is seeing something from someone else's eyes, and that's how you learn about different cultures and all the different kinds of people and experiences there are in this world. And that's why I read, because I wouldn't be the same person I am if I'd never read any of these books. uh I can trace it back to, the Neverending Story started it all for me, I swear. And that sounds so silly, but it really did. um it's very hard for me to describe because it's just I have an emotional connection to all the books I love, but they just sometimes they save you, when if you're stuck in your situation and you go into a book and escape that situation, that can save you. So I think that's all I really need to say about this one. Is very fascinating perspective on the Arthurian legends. And then the last one I have, did I mention this is not a comprehensive list because I don't have a lot of the books that I read way back when. I've purged my books so many times. I don't keep all of them. I only keep ones I think I'm going to reread. But anyway, this one is kind of hard to see with the reflection, but it's called Shantaram. Shantaram. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right because it's an Indianish word. I don't even know how to describe it. It's set in India, okay? And this is something I never in a million years would have picked up on my own, but somebody recommended it online, and I thought, okay, I'll give it a shot. Because it's about this guy who's a doctor, but he ends up being a criminal, and he lives in the slums of India, and he goes to prison, and he escapes, and there's so much going on, but it's something it was really well written, and I really got absorbed in the story, which is half the reason I liked it, but also because it really opened my eyes to different cultures, especially one like India, where I have no desire to ever go there. It's just it's too crowded, basically. But I'm so glad I got to experience that culture through this book, because when he's in the slums of India, being trying to help the people there as a doctor, I guess I had really preconceived notions about what the slums were like, and I thought, oh, those people must be miserable. They must just be, just barely getting through the day every day because they have nothing. They literally live in tents with no running water, nothing. And you actually learn that they're so happy. They're probably happier than most Americans. And boy, does that put everything into perspective when first of all, it makes you really grateful for everything you do have. The small things, really small things, like a toilet, running water, a hot shower, just a drink of water that's clean and tastes good and doesn't make you sick. So it makes you grateful in a a way that I hadn't experienced before. And I just learned so much about a whole nother culture that I would never have experienced in my life, because I'm never gonna go to India. Well, never say never, right? Because I've learned that over the years. But okay, that's my list. I hope this was somewhat interesting, and maybe you'll want to read some of these books, and I'd love to hear what you think of them. And um, I hope they're at least interesting to you if you do read them, and possibly maybe even life changing for you. So, thank you so much for watching. I hopefully will see you again soon. Bye. Have a wonderful day.